In the heart of West Africa, the dry winds of change swept across Burkina Faso as Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the fiery 34-year-old revolutionary, rose to power on the shoulders of the people. He came as a symbol of defiance, bold, young, and unafraid to challenge the colonial relics that still haunted the continent. Traoré didn't ask to be liked by the West. He demanded that Africa rule itself. He dismantled French influence, he nationalized resources, he promised security and dignity, but as his popularity surged, so did the power in his hands. And with it came the temptation that has drowned many great African leaders before him: control. In July 2025, Traoré made a decision that sent shockwaves through the region. He dissolved the Independent Electoral Commission, calling it a foreign tool meant to undermine the nation. To many of his supporters, it was a necessary move. To others, it was the first crack in a young revolution. Thousands of kilometers away in Kampala, Uganda, a familiar voice spoke up. A voice that had long turned pain into poetry and resistance into rhythm. Bobi Wine, the ghetto-born musician turned presidential challenger, had seen this road before, and he knew where it ended. He'd once stood on a stage singing about freedom. Then he stood in Parliament, defying decades of dictatorship. He'd been arrested, tortured, silenced, but never broken. Now, watching Traoré take the reins of his country, Bobi Wine felt both admiration and concern. "Brother," he said in a viral video that swept through African social media, "you came with fire in your heart. You spoke of the people. You rejected Western chains, but don't forget, power belongs to the people, not to the powerful."
I have a lot of respect for President Traoré. Of course, I might disagree with the way he came into power.
Sure.
But it's not how it comes into power, but how he uses that power and how he relates with the people. I think that President Traoré is a great leader, what he's doing for his people. But the lesson we learn, especially from Gaddafi, is that you can do everything for your people. That's one very important thing that you must give your people: chance to elect him as president, so that they feel that he is actually their servant and not their boss.
Yeah.
So it's important that President Traoré empowers the people. The greatest success of any leader is to give power back to the people.
His message was simple. Real freedom comes not just from overthrowing colonial influence, but from trusting your own people with the ballot. The words hit home, not just in Burkina Faso, but across the continent. In Nairobi, youth groups replayed his speech. In Dakar, street artists painted murals of Traoré and Bobi Wine facing each other, one with a fist raised, the other with a ballot in hand. The conversation was no longer about personalities, it was about principle. Was it possible to be revolutionary and democratic? Could an African leader lead a people's movement and still step aside for the people to choose? As the days passed, the pressure grew. International news outlets picked up Bobi's challenge. Diplomats whispered behind closed doors. In Ouagadougou, rumors swirled. Traoré had seen the message. Some say he watched it alone. Others say he dismissed it. But no one really knew what he was thinking. What was clear was this: Bobi Wine had thrown a stone into the political waters of Africa, and the ripples were growing wider. He wasn't asking Traoré to surrender. He was asking him to rise even higher. "A revolution that fears the people is no revolution at all," Bobi said in a follow-up address. "Captain, give elections a chance. Let Africa see a new kind of leadership, one that fights for the people and then trusts them to choose." For now, the streets of Ouagadougou remain tense but hopeful. The flame of Traoré's revolution still burns, but the world watches closely to see whether it will light the path to democracy or burn the bridges to it. And across the continent, in song, in protest, and in truth, Bobi Wine's voice continues to echo: "Don't let your revolution become your prison."